Increasingly, financial and procurement officers are peering into PR and marketing spend, looking for perhaps savings and value. But in many cases, it's not because they doubt that the spend is needed. It's just that they are keepers of the purse. They are number seekers and feel that those spending the company money should be accountable. So how can PR even start to transition from being an art into the science of accountability? I felt it was no good just asking any general PR company. I needed a deeper dive with a company which had already impressed me with their talk of accountability. So it's a welcome return to the Managing Director of Oggadoon PR, Caroline Macdonald. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, Malcolm. Thank you for inviting me back.
Lovely to see you again. Okay, so let's get into our deeper dive questions. With one of my day jobs helping people to bid for contracts and also advising procurement people on buying processes, I've seen a quick shift to accountability demands. Now, I know this is a challenge in the world of PR, but I felt in our first conversation that you were more orientated to helping clients see value than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That is always been our modus operandi for our clients, is to, if they can't see the value, then they can't commit and they can't believe in it. I mean, my mantra has always been that for any business to trade, they need to communicate. Therefore, if you want to survive, you need to communicate. If you want to thrive, you need to communicate. But we need to translate that into metrics and values that others who aren't in our profession can understand.
Excellent, yes. I know that there are formulas around that estimate the value of, say, an editorial item, sometimes 7 times the value of advertising space, or an appearance on BBC. They're all subjective, but can they be used as a guide?
Well, the thing about subjective elements, that they don't calculate very easily, which is really, really challenging for your procurement manager or your finance manager. What we're about is how you tell the story and how that person receives the story. And bearing in mind that there's a lot of third parties that do that for you, you're not doing it directly. There's any number of sociologists, psychologists, behavioural science experts who try to put that into a value and to calculate it and can't actually do that. So what we look at is these things that can give us a guide. So it could be the advertising equivalent. It could be the MUV, which is monthly unique visitors. It could be the number of readers, viewers, listeners in that way. But what is coming into PR, as you can see, it's spreading across channels, is the use of digital metrics for it. But if I can throw a quote in from good old Mr. Branson, he said, quote unquote, "A good PR story is infinitely more effective than a front page ad."
Wow. Yeah, and he should know. He's done many of them, hasn't he? You know. So should PR be measured in a term other than money? Say a campaign achieving a particular objective or adding to the company vision or reputation?
So there's many reasons for doing PR. Clearly the biggest one is because people want to increase income, want to increase revenue. But quite a few times people actually, the purpose behind it is to raise awareness, is to sign up for a cause. It could be because they want to be positioning themselves ready for investment. But also it can be about reputation and reputation management and being seen to do the right thing, although that very much needs to be evidence backed. So therefore the value is in different means other than simply the accounts and the bottom line revenue or the bottom line return. But to chuck in yet another quote, because I like this one, Bill Gates said that if he had $2 left, he would spend one of those dollars on PR.
Wow. And the other dollar?
Well, who knows? I'll leave it to decide on maybe getting coffee for the journalist.
Yeah. Okay. I've always said that going for mass media is vanity, that niche media is sanity, but it's results that are king. How do you guide your clients at Oggadoon into realizing, seeing, and measuring results of what you do for them?
So the key thing here is clearly about expectation management. You really have to be honest and tell the truth about how media is and how it operates. It's changing really quickly. So people might have some preconceived conceptions about what a media will do. So having something front page of the Times will automatically result in difference to your brand, to your hits to your website, to the orders coming through. We have to go back to the why people would be interested in you, and we also have to understand on the journalists, on the editors, on the producers side, is how they work in their day. In fact, that they get a minimum of 700 pitches coming in, so what's going to work for their story. So we also want to look at where the audiences are for that client. So are they reading the Times, or are they actually more on LinkedIn? So adjusting expectations and what we can get from that as well. There's also the element of you needing to do continued reporting and continued insight, so that your client can understand what the effort is going into and what they can get in terms of a value coming back. And you build that up with all the metrics that you can do, and gaining that sort of like momentum for them.
I love that approach that you've got there, really, truly accountable. Do clients, though, sometimes expect too much, too quickly to come from their PR spend? Should they regard it as, say, a long-term investment rather than a short-term measure?
So the clue is in the acronym of PR. It's public relations. Relations don't happen overnight. If you want instant gratification, then you look to do pay-per-click, social ads, other starts in digital media that you can effectively see fairly quickly what the click-through is going to be. PR is about relationship building. It's about being there in the long term. And so therefore you do need to have that belief and that understanding that you'll get the dividends over time. But what happens is that you get this build-up of dividends, that all of a sudden you get this critical mass where you get a lot coming through. Usually the short-term PR results, because you're in a crisis.
Caroline, as always, a revelation to speak to you, and thanks for the interview.
Thank you.